Yes. I really like to play within the play. I thought it was very appropriate for where we are and what we're doing. So I wrote it's very contemporary for who you are and where you are and what you're about. I thought that was interesting. I also thought it was interesting as using RNJ as the backdrop for the relationship problems between, is it Taylor and Max?
Yes.
Because they're really the ones that are having, Ralph and Julie seem to be getting on just fine, even though Ralph has a terrible problem with puns. Terrible, awful, Tom Evans level puns.
I think hers.
Poor
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah. Now this is what I want to say about those terrible, awful puns. You totally lost a giant laugh, and Tom Evans would have beat you senseless because you said that line as you were going off stage instead of stopping and delivering the line and then going off the stage. That I wanted to hear that. Give me the line.
Okay. Ralph, do you have any overdue books because you have mine written all over you?
That's awful. That's an awful line. Not the reading of it. That's an awful line, and it's so awful it's great. Because he gives you a terrible one before, just terrible, right? About checking you out. Oh, it's a groaner, man. Those are big, big groaners, but they're funny. So stop and deliver them and be proud of them.
And
Commit
also,
to them.
even though it's like you've got this space between them, you're totally, that's talking and listening, you're totally answering him, so you have to match what you know what I mean? Just don't shy away from it like, because you're commenting on it. Just, you gotta be brave and get out there with it.
Now I'm gonna jump up here. There was when you had the platform here as being the stage on the stage, right? Look out for those actor traps. There's a couple of times you guys upstaged each other. You upstaged yourselves, I should say. Okay, you almost were turned up to the back. Okay, you had a little 6-inch platform, or you know. The Romeo could have been standing down on this stage and the Juliet up on that stage, and you could have played the diagonal, and then that would have opened you up and given you a little height difference, okay? So, you know, a lot of times we end up like this, you know, and while this side of my face is very interesting, now you get to see both sides of the face, and you're like, turn back the other way. Okay, so, but we want to open ourselves up, and again, you're staging a play within a play, and you've got the scripts in your hand, and that leads me to the other one. Don't put the script up here, right? Keep the script down here so that we can see your face.
Put the script right down there.
Yeah, I know. I should put the script right here, actually. So don't do those two things. They're traps. Don't get the script up in your face, and don't get yourself in profile or get your shoulders turned up stage. Figure out a way to keep yourself grounded and open, but make it make sense within the world of the piece. This goes for anytime you're doing an ensemble show. A lot of times we're in an ensemble show and we may not be the main character and we may not be the person that has a lot of lines, but we're on stage a lot. How do we keep alive in that moment? How do we keep alive in that world, right? Without drawing attention to ourselves. Because it's not our turn, right? It's not our part of the story to tell. How do we do that? Here's how we do that. Everything that is said on stage, and everything that you can see, everything that you say, and everything that you hear, you have to have an opinion about. Does that make sense? You have to have an opinion about it. So if everybody stopped and said, what do you think about what they just said, you could give it. Because you know what? That's what we do in life all the time. We overhear conversations, we overhear snippets of things. We're constantly making up opinions in our head about what we think about that. But we may not give voice to it. And we may not let it play in our face, but it's playing back here, right? And it keeps us engaged and alive in the moment. Then we're watching, we're following the action, what's going on. You know, we're following this, you know, everything that's going on. So when it is our time to go, it's not out of nowhere. It's still in the moment, even though that moment is not necessarily something that we're connected to, okay? So I thought in Ralph and Julie that you guys could have engaged in that a little more about having that opinion about everything that you see, say, and hear, right? And then breathing. There was sometimes I had trouble understanding what you were saying because you were going so fast. We want to think fast as actors, but we don't want to talk fast because then we rob the audience of being a part of the story. But we want to think fast, right? We want to leap. I had a director at American Players Theater in Wisconsin. We were doing Romeo and Juliet, and he talked about building that frame. He built the frame and then let us play in the frame and color that picture in. And he also talked about leaping and compressing. You got to leap to the next thought and compress the time out of that. We don't talk fast, but you've heard directors say, pick up your cues. And we think of that, we start to internalize that as this very technical thing, and we start to speak without thinking about it, and sometimes it tends to make us go fast. But if we think faster, right, you're allowed to think faster. If we think faster, then we close that gap up and it's natural. Does that make sense? Okay. So, in an ensemble piece like that, have opinions about what you hear and be engaged in thought about everything that you see and hear. Okay? Yeah, and that was the other thing is the discoveries, especially between Max and Taylor, is in the arguments. You guys are arguing with each other, right? You're throwing them back and forth, but you're not. I didn't see you seeing them land, so you didn't change tactics, right? And if you're taking in what the other person is saying, or you're seeing that what you're saying to them is not convincing them, not getting them to get on your side and see it your way, then you've got to change where you're coming from. So there was a little bit of, it got on the same level, the argument, the whole time. And that's a way to fight against that, is to say, all right, that's not working that way, I got to change a different way. But we think fast, and we go from one to the other, all right? We don't have to go through this long transition of things. We don't do it as human beings, we go fast. We go, okay, you don't like that idea? Here's another idea. Okay, well that one's, oh yeah, this is the one here. This is the one here. You got it. Well, maybe, so we go on to the next thing, because we're wanting something. We're wanting something. But we got to make sure that we're not, hey, maybe I'm winning here. Maybe I'm getting it. I can quit. But if we're not getting it, we're not winning, we can't quit. But we got to find a new way, because doing it the same way is not getting us where we want to go. All right? So we got to pay attention to those things. I think that's all I have.
Okay, cool. I love being drawn into this the story of conflict and personal relationships against this classic backdrop. I thought that was just really innovative, and it reminded me a little bit, it had a little bit of that Waiting for Guffman feel to it, which I loved. That all of us in the theater could be like, oh my gosh, you roll your eyes and you're like, oh, I've done that, or I feel that way, or we're so wrought with the personal things that are happening. So I love the juxtaposition of the classical piece with the modern, with the contemporary relationships. I thought that was really fabulous. It was like getting a little bird's eye view, like peeking through the window at these people's dramatic lives, which I thought was great. I had the same note that Jason did about the staging, just with the profile. It's like we always want to do, nothing helped me more as an actor than becoming a director, honestly, because I suddenly realized it's like, I gotta save my face. It's all what you just get in the
How often in real life are we squared up on somebody? We're always having a conversation where we're facing each other like
right,
shoulder to shoulder, right?
So that's just a little thing, a little thing that's easily fixable, adjustable. For me, occasionally I lost the thread of the story, and I was trying to think, because there was so much going on. It's so funny. It's like with anything. The strength of the piece is also the thing that I struggled with. I love that there's so much going on and that there's so many different stories all happening at once. But I was a little bit like, okay, wait, where am I supposed to be looking now? What's happening here? So I was thinking, I'm always about, let's try to do this as simply as possible without using like lighting to do it. So just maybe using the stage a little bit in a way that maybe brought more focus to the thing at hand, just a little more. And you had mentioned using the character of Mrs. Fletchall.
Oh, the director of actually, instead of keeping her over in the chair and saying, okay, no, don't do this, is actually having her do a Tom Evans, which you guys don't get that reference. But she's sitting over here, and she gets up, she goes, and then gets up and gets in between them and says, no, that's no good. And listen, what are you people doing? You're driving me nuts, all right? You two, get up here and do your thing, and then going and sitting back down, right? And it gives us a little transition, a little physical transition between the different characters, and then the person comes out saying, can I go to the bathroom, as an interjection, yes, get out of here, and all that kind of stuff, because she's got a job to do. So let's see her do the job, right? Instead of just sitting off to the side and saying, this, right? Physicalize that, yeah? Maybe not every time, but at least once or maybe twice to be able to get up and say, what you're doing is wrong, and sit down. And you two get up there, right?
I liked how well differentiated the characters were.
I'm gonna get over here.
Using the space. Alyssa, you were like little Miss Sassy Pants, right? Like I loved, you know, and I think you guys could go even further with your commitment to those actions, and it would just take the piece to that next level, because I think it has a lot of, potential and a good life ahead of it, so. Yeah,
All right.
good job, guys.